Discarded mother. Reclaimed dignity. Catherine stood before the full-length mirror in the small hallway of her rented apartment, smoothing down the fabric of her silver-gray dress. It was not a designer piece, nor was it made of imported silk, but it was elegant. She had saved for 6 months, skipping lunches and walking to work, just to afford this dress for the most important day of her life. Today was her daughter Jessica's wedding. Jessica was marrying into the Sterling family, a dynasty of real estate tycoons in New York. Catherine, a simple librarian who had raised Jessica single-handedly after her husband passed away, felt a swell of pride mixed with a nervous flutter in her chest. She adjusted the pearl necklace, the only heirloom she possessed, and whispered a quiet prayer for her daughter's happiness. When Catherine arrived at the Grand Plaza Hotel, the opulence was overwhelming. The air smelled of expensive lilies and old money. She walked towards the entrance, her heart beating with anticipation to see her beautiful girl. But as she approached the main ballroom, Jessica stepped out from a side door, her face flushed not with joy, but with irritation. Jessica looked stunning in a gown that cost more than Catherine's annual salary, but her eyes were cold. She pulled Catherine into a shadowed alcove, away from the guests. "Mom, what are you doing here at the main entrance?" Jessica hissed, looking around nervously. Catherine faltered, her smile fading. "I am the mother of the bride, Jessica. I came to see you." Jessica sighed, a sound of heavy impatience. "Look, the Sterlings are very particular. They have senators and CEOs here. Your dress, it's too simple. It doesn't fit the aesthetic. I need you to sit at table 42. Catherine blinked, confused. Table 42? But the family table is number 1. Jessica shook her head. That's for the Sterlings and their inner circle. Table 42 is in the back, near the service entrance. Please, Mom, don't make a scene. Do this for me. Before Catherine could respond, Jessica signaled a staff member. Please, escort this lady to table 42. Catherine felt her heart shatter into a million invisible pieces. She didn't argue. She didn't scream. She simply nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat, and followed the waiter. The walk felt like a funeral march. She passed rows of laughing, glittering people until she reached the very last table, tucked behind a large pillar and right next to the swinging doors of the kitchen. The noise of clattering dishes was louder than the string quartet. She was the only one sitting there. The ceremony began. From her seat, Catherine could barely see Jessica standing at the altar. She watched her daughter, the girl she had nursed through fevers, the girl whose college tuition she had paid by scrubbing floors on weekends, now exchanging vows in a world where her mother was an embarrassment. A tear slid down Catherine's cheek, but she wiped it away quickly. She would not cry. She had her dignity. As the reception started and waiters began serving champagne, the room suddenly went quiet. A hush fell over the crowd as the heavy oak doors at the front opened. A man walked in. He commanded the room without saying a word. He was older, perhaps in his early 60s, with salt and pepper hair and a tuxedo that fit him like a second skin. It was William Thorne, the billionaire venture capitalist whom the Sterlings had been trying to impress for years. The groom's father, Mr. Sterling, rushed forward, his hand extended, sweating slightly. "Mr. Thorne, we didn't think you could make it. What an honor." Jessica beamed, ready to be introduced to the man who could make her new family even richer. But William Thorne didn't stop. He didn't shake Mr. Sterling's hand. He didn't even look at the bride. His eyes were scanning the room, searching. He walked past the VIP tables, past the senators, past the cameras. The entire room turned, following his gaze. He walked all the way to the back, past the pillar, until he stopped at table 42. Catherine was looking down at her empty plate, wishing she could disappear when a familiar voice, deep and warm like aged whiskey, spoke above the kitchen noise. "Is this seat taken, or are you still saving it for me after 30 years? Catherine's head snapped up. Her breath hitched. "William?" she whispered, her voice trembling. William smiled, a genuine, tender smile that erased the years between them. He pulled out the chair next to her, a cheap, folding chair, unlike the velvet ones at the front, and sat down. The entire ballroom gasped. The most powerful man in the city was sitting next to the kitchen doors. "I thought I'd never see you again, Kate," William said, softly, using the nickname only he knew. Catherine looked at him, confused and overwhelmed. "We were young, William. My parents, they didn't think a mechanic's son was good enough for me. And then life happened." William nodded, taking her hand. His grip was warm and steady. "I own the company that owns the mechanic shop now. I own a lot of things. But I never forgot the girl who read poetry to me in the park. I saw your name on the guest list registry. I came only for you." Up at the front, Jessica was panic-stricken. Her mother-in-law was whispering furiously, asking who that woman was. Jessica marched down the aisle, her face pale. She approached the table, forcing a tight smile. "Mr. Thorne, surely there has been a mistake. You shouldn't be sitting back here. This is just the overflow seating. We have a place of honor for you at the main table." William didn't let go of Catherine's hand. He looked up at Jessica, his eyes losing all their warmth. "And who are you?" Jessica stammered. "I'm Jessica, the bride, and this is my mother." William raised an eyebrow. "Your mother? You placed your mother, the woman who gave you life, next to the trash cans?" The room was deadly silent. Jessica's face turned crimson. "It was a logistical error," she lied, her voice shaking. William stood up, and Catherine stood with him. "It wasn't an error," William said, his voice projecting across the room. "It was a choice. You chose to hide her because you thought she wasn't good enough for your new life. But let me tell you something, young lady. The only reason I considered investing in the Sterling Group was because I knew they were marrying into Catherine's family. I assumed her daughter would have her integrity, her grace. I see I was mistaken." Mr. Sterling came running over, looking like he was about to have a heart attack. "Mr. Thorne, please, we can fix this." William held up a hand. "The deal is off, Sterling. I don't do business with people who don't know the value of loyalty. If you can't respect the woman who raised this bride, you certainly won't respect my capital." He turned to Catherine, his expression softening instantly. "This place is too loud and the company is poor. There is a quiet Italian bistro down the street. They make that pasta you used to like. Will you join me?" Catherine looked at Jessica. Jessica's eyes were filled with tears, not of remorse, but of fear for her lost status. "Mom, please," Jessica begged, her voice cracking. "Tell him to stay. Don't ruin this for me." Catherine looked at the daughter she had sacrificed everything for. She realized that by staying in the shadows, she wasn't helping Jessica. She was enabling her cruelty. Catherine straightened her back. She looked regal in her simple silver dress. "Jessica," Catherine said, her voice calm and clear. "I didn't ruin this. You did when you forgot where you came from. I love you, but I will not be hidden anymore." And Catherine took William's arm. They walked out of the ballroom together, heads held high. The path cleared for them as if they were royalty. No one dared to speak. As they exited the heavy doors into the cool night air, the suffocating weight of the last few hours vanished. Jessica was left standing in the center of a silent room, surrounded by expensive flowers and people who were suddenly looking at her with judgment rather than admiration. She had the wedding of the year, but she had lost the only person who truly loved her. In the car, William looked over at Catherine. "You were brave in there," he said. Catherine smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes for the first time that day. "I think I just realized that my worth isn't determined by where someone seats me." William squeezed her hand. "You were always in the front row of my life, Kate." 3 days later, Catherine was in her garden when her phone rang. It was Jessica. "Mom," Jessica sobbed, "the Sterlings are furious. They might cancel the honeymoon funding. They want you to call Mr. Thorne. Please, just fix it." Catherine sighed, looking at the blooming roses she had nurtured. "Jessica, I can't fix what is broken inside you. You need to learn that people are not stepping stones. I'm not calling him for you. I'm having dinner with him tonight. For me." She hung up the phone gently. Catherine went inside and got ready. She wore the same silver dress, but this time she didn't feel plain. She felt radiant. She realized that dignity wasn't given by a title or a wealthy in-law. It was something you carried inside you. And as she saw William's car pull up to her modest curb, she knew that her new chapter was just beginning, not as a victim in the back row, but as the protagonist of her own story. The wedding had been a display of wealth, but the walk out of those doors had been a display of worth. And that was a lesson Jessica would have the rest of her life to learn.